what I wanted to say, which I would like you to take it the right way, take it as a compliment that I feel that I can say this to B'nai Torah. I couldn't say these words in the Kehillah, although I tried to be a lot more gentle on Shabbos, but I'm going to share something with you which I think you as B'nai Torah need to know, need to understand. And I said something on Shabbos in the Kehillah, and actually Akiva showed it to me as an idea from Rabbi Elyashiv, which is even stronger and quite, I don't know if the word is frightening, but yeah, it's strong. But I think this is the time to speak plainly. I said that I quoted the Chazal. We know that when we went to war against Midian, there were every shevet sent 3,000 men, 1,000 to fight, 1,000 to what today would be called logistics, and 1,000 to daven. Wow. Says Rabbi Elyashiv. So I already mentioned this off my own bat on Shabbos. But I'm going to tell you, Rabbi Elyashiv is wow. So I said, and then what you notice is that when they share the spoils of war, the shalom, after the war, when they're victorious, everybody gets equally. In other words, for a Jewish milchama, we understand that there are different parts. Everybody understands that for an army. By the way, I remember the statistics from the Iraq War, from the Gulf War. I remember the statistics, and they said I think for every soldier on the front line, there are at least 5 behind. Think about the army needs fuel, the car needs mechanics, they need dentists, they need cooks, they need supply. All you see is the guy in the front, but there's a whole logistics and supply chain. One of the reasons why, to some extent, they're waiting before they're going in. Everything has to be in place. That you can't. It's not like in Asterix. Remember in Asterix when they're fighting the British and the thing, and they would stop for tea. You can't do that, right? Especially not when you're dealing with behemoths. So logistics is important. Okay, so the people who are doing the logistics, they also share in the thing. But the 1,000 who davened got the same share. So I said we need to realize that in the same way, the 400,000 reservists who were called up at very short notice, they have jobs, they have families, they have wives who need them, they have parnosa, and they just ran because they realized Klal Yisrael needs them. We are not in the front line where we are, and that's the mistake. Like they were called up to duty. So are we. And it is no less important. In fact, from a Ruchnistic perspective, it is as important, if not more important. So you see it from that Milchama with Midian. We know at the end of the day, of course, the IDF, we have to do the Hishtadlus and we hope that they do it well and we daven for them. But at the end of the day, I don't want to put too much on camera, especially not to, it's going to. At the end of the day, the Rabbeinu Shalom sent a very strong message. When you become complacent and arrogant and rely on your own strength and capabilities, boy, are you humbled in a way that is brutal and shocking. And from our perspective, it's the Rabbeinu Shalom saying, Lo b'chayil v'lo b'koyach ki im beruchi. There's only one thing that matters. And if you forget the Rabbeinu Shalom as a society, never forget this was a day, I don't want to say too much on camera. Just think, you have to have a seichel, you have to think. This was a day for dancing. That's what it is of Simchas Torah. I don't want to say more. You have to use your seichel. Al kol panim. We know and we believe, be'emunah shalema, that the only thing that is going to help and save is if Klal Yisrael, if we do teshuvah. It's not just davening. We're not just davening for rachamim. If you daven for rachamim, as much as we do need to daven for rachamim, you have missed an opportunity and you haven't done the kiyum mitzvah saseh de'oraisa, which the Rambam says, mitzvah saseh, lizoik ula horia, to shout, v'dava ze midarkei hatshuva. It's not a din in tefillah, or we need tehillim because tehillim are powerful and we'll save them, we'll daven for rachamim. Kol ze emet, aval lo zot hanukudah. Dava ze midarkei hatshuva. The Rebbeinu Shalom is saying, I'm not happy. And therefore the role that we play, the role that every Yid plays with the chiyuv of tefillah, of teshuvah, is no less important, of course. It's the only thing that's going to work. Eila barecha, eila basusim. We have to do the ishtadlus, v'anachnu b'shem Hashem. And therefore, we are called up to duty. And we need to see it that way. I'm sorry, we need to see it that way. We are called up to duty. It's as simple as that. Imagine the reservists didn't show up. Or they showed up an hour late, or they... We understand when it comes to employment, when it comes to the army, when it comes to these things. Remember, there are hundreds of thousands of families in Eretz Yisrael today where the wives are having to go through incredible... And we are told, it's very simple, we're told, come to davening. You have to come to davening. And you are B'nai Torah. The Kehillah looks to you, you're B'nai Torah. And here's the shocking bit, which I didn't go quite that far in, but that's where, in its simple, to B'nai Torah you can speak stronger. And now I'll quote you Rabbi Elyashiv. Rabbi Elyashiv says as follows, he takes that idea and he takes it further. It didn't occur to me, he's Rabbi Elyashiv. He said, think about the Dor Deah, it was the Dor of the Midbar. Imagine their level, their madrega. The people, when they went to be, and it was a mitzvah. It was not just a mitzvah, of course, this is a mitzvah, here's self-defense. There, the Rebbeinu Shalom said, Nukoim nikmas Hashem me'es hamidyonim. They had a direct tzivui from Hashem. They had the Oroin, they had the tzitz, they had Pinchas, they had, this is the Dor Deah. And Moshe Rabbeinu felt, if we don't have one-to-one, for every loichem, we don't have a mispalel, we're done. With the Oroin, with the tzitz, with the tzivui of Hashem, with the Dor Deah, with the... Kal v'chomer, said Rabbi Elyashiv, ben b'noi shel kal v'chomer. He said, today we need 10-to-1. 20-to-1. And he said, and if we don't, and I'm going to quote you, this is a verbatim quote, forgive me. He said, we will not be able to say, Yodeinu lo shofchu es hadam hazeh, unquote. The famous thing from Egla Rufa. Think about it. We must not think, we who are from Yidden and we believe totally in not just the Koich HaTfilah of Tshuva, but that we believe that the Rebbeinu Shalom is being mevakish from us, from every single one of us. I only say this to B'nai Torah, please take it as a compliment. But it's a mechayev. Saying that if somebody, I have to say it, this is what he's saying, let's spell it out. The Yitochen that a soldier dies in Gaza, and we will be held responsible. Because I was not in Mincha. Or because I didn't daven properly. He says we're not going to be able to say Yodeinu lo shofchu es hadam hazeh. That's what we see from the Milchama Midian, and I obviously I could not say that. B'nai Torah you can say it. I'll show you. I'll send you the exact quote from Rabbi Elyashiv. I know it's strong. There's also another element. There's another element as well, and that is in war. What was it? Miha isha yorei v'rach alevov had to go home. Why? V'lo yimas es levav echov kilvovoi. Morale is really important. It's not just psychologically. Yeah, psychologically, and the impact it has. It's incredible. It's heartwarming to see the amazing after stuff that's going on across. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And part of that is from right here in Berlin, in a Kehillah perspective, is the more people in shul, the more, that raises morale. It's not business as usual. This is not business as usual, unfortunately. I'm not going to go into the whole Gogig Mogig thing. Yeah, nisht, who knows? Very, very possibly this is it. Very possibly. And it's not, as the Gemara say, Yesei v'lo yachmini, I don't want to be there. May it come, v'lo yachmini. It's not going to be pretty. Read the Nevuos, Zachari, Chezkel. I don't even, not going to be pretty. So what do we have? Torah Gemilas Chasodim. That's what the Gemara says. Yeah, what do you do? Ma yasodim v'notze mechevli Mashiach, yasik b'Torah u'Gemilas Chasodim. Where's tefillah? Always bothered me. Where's tefillah? I don't know. What do you think is a teretz? I think. Sorry? Where's the tefillah? Yeah. Oh, right. Us doing teshuva, very good. Us doing teshuva. That's the biggest Gemilas Chesed. Like, that's the other side of the coin of Rebbe Yashik. Imagine you get to Olam Haba, and they'll say, you saved the lives of 5 soldiers in Gaza. What? Yeah. You shed a tear in Rufainu, or you. That's how it works. We know that. That's how it works. It's direct. It's Torah is also Magno Matzla. Limud HaTorah. Limud HaTorah is Magno Matzla. We know that. All of these things. It's not. They're Moshe Nefesh. We also have to be Moshe Nefesh. We also have to be Moshe Nefesh. We have to do whatever we can. Should give us the koyach to do the right thing. Lama Lennon. Yeah. Yesterday we started the sugya of being Mekadosh Be'ed Echad. Yesterday we started the sugya of being Mekadosh Be'ed Echad. We saw that Roiv Rubam Shel Rishonim Paskin that Mekadosh Be'ed Echad Ein Choshim LeKiddushin Rif, Rosh, Rambam. Yeah? Basically all the Rishonim. They all held it's garnished. Comes again the Smag. Says the Smag is Choshesh, the Kiddushin. And the Ramah brings it. V'yesh machmirin im Mekadesh lifnei Eid Echad, but that's only im Shnei Moedim. She says that's only im Shnei Moedim. Okay, so here's where the fun starts. Today it's going to get a bit more sticky. Okay, im Shnei Moedim. But says the Ramah, if one is makhish ha'eid ein lochush. That's the Tashbatz's understanding of the Smag. Now, don't forget the Gaon dismissed the Ramah, right? He said it's fine. We don't need to even be worried about it. By the way, I saw something. Maybe one of these days I'm going to do this. When we get a little bit into this, I'm going to try and find for you because it's really interesting. I actually have it on my computer. There are 2 or 3 websites. Well, first of all, I have access to both to Bar Ilan and to the Otzach Chochma. And because of my learning in Gittin, I have to spend some time. I had to write, actually, a while ago, one of my tests was to write a tshuva on a shaila. And it'd be interesting for you to see a real case. I can get you go through the protocols of a Rabbanut based in, of a case that comes about, which involves this, and you see how the Dayanim quote, how they go through it, and they build up the different shikolim. It'd be fascinating. Maybe once we've got, remind me, maybe after we finish this 1 or 2 more seifim, or maybe at the end of this simon, which is one of the major simanim, maybe we should do that. Okay, but now we have a bit of work ahead of us. We have to understand the following. So we have a Ramah. This is the way we left it. We left it with a Ramah who says we're chayesh for Kiddushin, but only if Shneihem Moedim, right? But if one of them, if the man or the woman confronts and denies, goes against the Eid Echad, what's known as Eid Echad B'Hakchosha, then it's no good, nothing. Let's stop there before we get to other pieces. Now we need to do some learning, I'm afraid. We have to do some text. Follow with me. I've done it before, so I'll make your life a little bit easier. So here we have a Chelkas Machokek and a Beis Shmuel who grapple with the understanding of the case. They quote a Bach, and they're going to both disagree with it, and then we're going to see, Emet Hashem, if there's still time today, we're going to learn a Ketzos, a beautiful, one of the classic Ketzosim that you should have in your back pocket anyway, on the whole concept of Eidus and Dover Shabbat Pachs Mishnayim. Okay, let's go. Follow with me. So we're learning the Cham, Sivkot and Dalet. Yeah, Chalkas Mechayik, Sivkot and Dalet. So Mechaber says, so the Ramah says, sorry, if one of the parties argues with the aid, ein lochush, it's garnished. Let's learn a Chalkas Mechayik. Loshen zeh, yesh lefaresh, ein lochush klal. Now, the Ramah says that if one party is makhish the aid, it's nothing. 1 second. Says the Chalkas Mechayik, it's nothing for everybody or only for the one who's makhish? Maybe the one who agrees, maybe that person has to be chayash. Maybe. That's his question. He says, the loshoin, because it says, ein lochush, and it doesn't differentiate between the two parties, so he's medayak, loshoin zeyesh lefash, ein lochush klal, afilu lo isa, shein amakish. Even the man or the woman, whichever it was, that is not, doesn't deny. V'hainu, now he limits it. He comes up and he says the following. There are two ways of denying the validity that there was a valid Kiddushin. Who can think of what these two ways might be? Two cases, two options of what happened. Think of two possibilities of denying, going against the Eid Echad says, yes, there was Kiddushin, and let's say you're the man, right? For argument's sake. Yeah. So you're the man, and you say, there was Kiddushin. Or rather, the Eid Echad says there was, and you say, no, there wasn't. Think of two ways how you could challenge the Eid in terms of the reality, the facts. You could say either...
There was only one way.
No, there was only one Eid. We know there was only one Eid. That one Eid says there was Kiddushin, and you, the man, the chosen, the putative chosen, according to the Eid, you're turning around to him and saying, no, there was no Kiddushin. Now, how could that, in the facts, what could you say? You could either say...
No Kiddushin?
Okay, maybe I'm not being clear enough.
Do you mean about the one from the Eidim part?
No, you are the chosen. You are challenging the Eid. There's an Eid Echad.
It's not Eid because there's only one Eid.
But you
can say he's invalid, he's co or something like this. You might say.
Okay, let's role play, because maybe it's I'm probably a lousy teacher. I'm not getting this. So, I am the Eid. I come to the Beis Din, and I say that I saw Eli. I'm Eid Echad, and I saw you being Mekadesh Miss X. Now, talk to me, challenge me. Say, what do you say to me? You're going to be makhish me. You're going to deny what I said. How do you do that? There's two ways you can do that. You can either say to me...
You could either say it wasn't really what you saw, was not what you think you
saw. Good. Ooh, you're going straight to the difficult one. In other words, you could say, what if I may, what you could say is, yes, you saw that, but everybody knew it was a joke. Meshate hoyisi boch is the Lashon in the Gemara, which means, like we've had before, Kiddushay tzchaik. It was a joke. We were horsing around. We were all a bit drunk. It was a bunch of guys, and it was whatever. It was, and unfortunately, these things, like we've spoken about. So that's one way you could challenge. You could say, yes, you are correct about the facts, but you are incorrect about the intention. Sehr gut. Oder man kann sagen, Robert,
the intention was right.
No. PP is stronger. Yeah, Robert, you're a liar. What are you talking about? I've never seen this girl. I've never seen you. I wasn't there. What are you talking about? You're a liar. None of this is true. Not a word coming out of your mouth, Robert, is true. Nothing. So these are two options. Now here, so when we have here in the Ramah, Eid Echad B'Hak Chosha, which one is it? Is it one? Is it both? That is what's going to bother. That is what's bothering the Chelkas Mochek and the Beis Shmuel, as we're going to see. Yeah.
Isn't Modeh B'Miktzat an issue?
Ooh. Whoa. Go on.
That partially admitting makes you questionable.
Okay, so you're onto something. You've used the wrong terminology, but your concept, you're right. You have a very good point. Okay, he has a really good point, and this is exactly, we're going to have to get into the svaras here on this. Very good. So, I just wanted to set the scene. Okay, the Ramah says, Eid Echad, if it's B'Hak Chosha, if one of the parties denies, Ein Choshin. Says the Chelkas Mochek, whoa, slow down. What exactly are we talking about? That's what we're going to learn, okay? Just wanted to set the scene for you, makes it easier. Zog the Chelkas Mochek, Lo Shoin Zeyesh Lefaresh Ein Lochush Klal. So when the Ramah says that if the one aid is denied by one party, it means it's nothing. Nobody needs to worry about it. V'hainu says the Chelkas Mochek, but that is only kashahamakrish ein einoi omer lahadam. Anybody know what lahadam means? It's an acronym based on the sugi in the Gemara. Loi hayu dvarim me'olam. Which basically means you're a liar. It never happened. Lo hayu dvarim me'olam. Lahadam. Yeah? Many times, a few times in Shas.
Is
Lahadam.
that yours?
It isn't. Which,
There's the piece of paper.
how do you know who owns it?
Is there anything?
I don't know. It's a suffix. I don't know. Let me give you some paper with pleasure. With the greatest of pleasure. Sorry, I didn't. Just.
Sorry to interrupt.
Sorry.
Sorry to interrupt.
Not at all. Not at all. Take this. Pleasure. No problem.
Save you from stealing.
Thank you.
Okay. Lahadam says the Chalkas Mechaykek. V'hainu kshamakich einay meladam. This is the case is when the party who is makhish, he doesn't say lahadam. He doesn't say, oh, it never happened. Rak oimer meshate hoyisi. What does that mean? I was horsing around. In English, we say I was messing around. I was playing around. I didn't. We were just having a. We would, it was a. Everybody was hard. We were all a bit high. We were all a bit whatever. Meshate hoyisi. I was. Of course, I said it. I know that the girl was there, and I gave her the ring. But what meshate hoyisi? V'loi niskavanti l'kiddushin. I didn't have kavanah for kiddushin. Uma'aminim loy. Yeah, good. So now we have a case. Now we have the case. So when the Ramah says we're talking about Eid Echad b'Hakchosha, what are we talking about? Hakchosha, not that he said it never happened, but we're talking about a specific case where he said it happened, but that wasn't my kavanah.
Yeah.
Why should we believe him? So that's one against one. Now he says an interesting thing. And we believe the chosen, well, the non-chosen, we believe him b'migu. You all know what migu is, yes? Mm-hmm. Right. Migu to iboyaho makhish oed. I could have turned around and said, never happened. But, therefore, believe me when I say, yes, I agree with you, it happened, but that was not my kavanah. If I would have wanted to lie, I could have said it never happened. V'im kain, kivan shaha echad le kivan le kiddushin. Now, if that is the case, if the case is a case of meshate hoyisi boch, I was messing around and I never meant it seriously, that means I, the non-chosen, loikivan, you now have to believe me that I had no kavanah for kiddushin. Well, if I had no kavanah for kiddushin, im kein afasheni and itzorach l'kayim kiddushin, then whatever the woman thought or didn't think is irrelevant because I didn't have kavanah for kiddushin. And that's why, says the Chalkas Mechaykek, that the Ramah said, nobody needs to worry about this kiddushin when it's b'hakchosha, not even the other one who didn't deny or go against the aid. Because you see what he's done? Yeah? Beautiful, simple. Fine. But we're not out of the woods yet. 1 second. Avol. But what would taka be if, im echod toyin lahadam, what would be if the man or the woman, what would be if there would be a different type of hakchosha? The man or the woman turns around to the aid and says, never happened. Never happened. No. Oh, v'hasheni toyin, and the other one says, let's say the man says it never happened, or the woman says, yes, I agree with the aid. I was there. You were mekadosh me. Lama lo yehei uhu asa b'kroi v'oseha. So he's actually saying, he's saying that it's the man who's denying. If you hold that we are chayash for kiddushin be'eid echad, then even if the one who didn't deny, we have to be chayash. The one who denied it, okay, 1 against 1. But the one who doesn't deny it, that means from his perspective, there is Kiddushin be'eid echad, which we have to be chayash. So then he should be osur, if it's the man, should be osur to her relatives. She's okay because she says never happened and she can challenge an eid echad. But the one who agrees, that means according to the one who agrees with the aid, there was Kiddushin be'eid echad. What's the halacha with Kiddushin be'eid echad? According to the Ramah, you have to be chayash. So the Ramah says ein lochash, which sounds like nobody needs to worry. Says the Chalkas Mechaykek, that only makes sense in a case of I was messing around. But then why didn't the Ramah clarify? Because that's in the case of lahadam, that the other person, that we should be worried about the Kiddushin. Va'oid, furthermore, that's question number 1. In other words, what he's saying, what's question number one? Question number one is that there is a lack of clarity in the Ramah. The Ramah is just saying ein lochosh. Now there are two options as to what happened. The Ramah should have clarified and told us that's only ein lochosh in the case of Meshata Yisibach, but not in the case of Ladam. He didn't do that. That's question number one. Question number two coming up. V'oid afilu b'meshate. Let's even go back to the first case, the case of we were messing around. Yeah, even in the case of Meshata. Yesh lodun. We need to ask ourselves the following question. Dilma, perhaps, the kishem bishnei edim tanas hashtor lav klumu. What would it be with the same scenario if it was a regular Kiddushin? Two edim, regular case of Kiddushin. Two edim, and then the chosin turns around and says, I was messing around. What would we say to the chosin? We've learnt this.
Too bad.
Too bad. Why? Who can remember the either the phrase in Hebrew, in English, Swahili, anything?
The Aiden Cumin.
No, better go for German. Then I won't understand. Case of two Eidim, regular case of Kiddushin. Yeah, two Eidim, and then the Chosin turns around and says, I was messing around. Or the Chala, one of them. What would we say to them? You're quite right. We would say, no, there's a proper chuppah here. Why? Dvorim shebalev einam dvorim. Yeah? But because we have here a perfectly externally, we have a valid action. Apparently we have a valid Kiddushin. You want to challenge it on the basis of your assertion that internally you didn't mean it. Dvarim shebalev einam dvarim. Well, if dvarim shebalev einam dvarim, asks the Chelkas Mechaykek, then why is that any different with one aid? If the concept is that you look at the externality of something, then why should it make a difference whether it's one or two aidim? Let's look at this inside. That's his second question. You with me? V'oid afilu b'meshati yesh lodun dilma. Maybe we should say kishem b'shnei eidim talis hashato lav klumu dvarim shebelevin udvarim hu adin eid echad u'ma b'kach sheyesh lo migu. So what you got to migu? He now says something very, very smart. What does migu say? Migu says we should believe you. Says the Chelkas Mechaykek, I believe you. We believe you. In the case with two Eidim, when we say that it's no good, when a regular chuppah and then a guy says I was messing around, the fact that we say it's a good Kiddushin is not because we don't believe you.
Because it doesn't.
We believe you. But when you have an action against a thought, the actions is stronger and has validity against. We believe it's not a question of belief. It's not a question of ne'emonus. So you have a migu, very nice, fine, we believe you. He said, then the problem was never one of credibility. The problem was never one whether we believe you or not. And for the same reason, the same lomdus, that we say that with two Eidim, it's Dvarim Shebelev, and therefore the action outweighs the thing. Therefore, if you are of the opinion that Kiddushin Be'eid Echad has a certain validity, that we are chayash for the Kiddushin, so what you have a migu, it should be exactly the same.
Nice.
It's just clear thinking. So we now have two challenges on what's going on over here in the Ramah, yeah? Everybody with me? Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Is the reason, with the case of two Eidim, that we don't believe him? They have no halachic validity. Not that we don't believe you, we're happy to believe you. In the case of two Eidim, even though we know, we can see that he was messing around. What you say and what you do outweighs what you may have thought. And therefore, we are really a little bit stuck, says the Chelkas Mechaykek. I'm a bit stuck in understanding this Ramah now. The Ramah has said that I'm chayish for Kiddushin Be'eid Echad, but if they're not chayish, no. And the Chelkas Mechaykek is basically, he's asked two questions, because there's two options how this could work. He says, why should this not be so? You're limiting it to the case of Hashtar, not the case of Lahadam. And even the case of Lahadam, why shouldn't it work? He's stuck. V'horav babach. Now here, he quotes the Bach. He says the Bach chilek bein eid echod lebeis eidim b'tanas Hashtar. So the Bach, if I was in yeshiva, would say the Bach leik tavek hayisoid. Yeah, the Bach lays down a concept, a chiddush. Zog the Bach. The Bach says there is When we're talking about the case of Hashta'a, Meshata Yisibach, I was messing around, there is a fundamental difference between 1 and 2 Eidim. What is that? The Kosav, says the Bach, is Mechadish. Nemon loy matanas Hashta'a beid echad, v'shekach posek halacha l'maisa. He doesn't give any more detail. He just says that the Bach, he's almost forced to don't know what the lomdus of the Bach is. The Bach says Eid Echad with the case of Hashtar is Ne'eman. He's Ne'eman to say Hashtar in the case of Eid Echad. He's not Ne'eman with. In other words, he's saying it differently. He's saying it's a question of Ne'emanus, and for some reason, some unknown reason, there is Ne'emanus with an Eid Echad, but no Ne'emanus against 2 Eidim. Says the Chalkas Mechoykek. Ve'ein dvarov muchrochin lahokel lechatchila. I don't accept it. I do not accept. So we're a bit stuck. So we are a little bit stuck. And he brings a Chuvas Maram Padva, who kind of contradicts himself, he says. So we're left a little bit stuck. Let's move over to the Beis Shmuel. So what are we left with, my friends? We are left with a Chalkas Mechoykek who is struggling to really understand the limitations of this Ramah because of his 2 questions. We're going to see halacha l'maisa, okay? But this was also an important exercise of how you take a simple case, some few words in a Ramah, apparently pretty straightforward, and then yes, right, you start the work, you start the analysis of the thing. Now let's move over, while it's still fresh in our mind, let's go over to the Beis Shmuel. Zog the Beis Shmuel, Sifkoten Vav. On the same thing, im echad makrish. Im hasheni moidel divrei ha'eid. What would be if only one of them denies, but the other party agrees to the words of the aid? Machalek habach. The bach is machalek v'kosav, and he says, im echad makrish b'meshloyo Kiddushin klal. If the other one who denies and says lahadam, there was never Kiddushin, Oz zesha omar divrei ha'eid shahoya Kiddushin, then the one who agrees with the aid tzarich lochush. Like the Chalkas Mechoykek started off by saying, yes, that then the other party does need to be concerned and treat it as Kiddushin. But avodim echad machish va'omer shahoya Kiddushin elo kavanose hoya l'schaik, right? But if the case of Meshate, Oz af hasheni ain't tzarich lochush. Like we saw. Afal gav de isa besamoch de eno neman loimal eschik kevanti. The Shulchan Aruch paskins that in a normal case of Kiddushin you are not believed to say that you were just messing around. Hainu kishnei edim eidim. That's only when there's 2 eidim. Aval neged eid echad neman b'migud oyochel akhishoy. And then comes this little acronym which I almost skipped over as I was learning it, and these are I then highlighted. Ve'enoi nira li. No, sir. So we have the Chalkas Mechoykek arguing with the Bach, saying Ein Dvarav B'chrochin, and equally we have the Beis Shmuel saying, sorry, Ein nira li. Don't agree. And now here, he adds a little bit more, and I don't want to go into this in too much detail because we're going to be sidetracked. Naschad Rav Abba of a Basra Elam Dalad, anybody knows the sugya, where somebody is accused of chapping something, and he says, in chotafti v'didi chotafti. Yes, I did chap something, I did take it, but I believe it's mine. Okay? The Eina Nemon b'migu d'hoya yochel ha'chishoy, as Tosfos says, gam chelkas b'choykik masigolov, and therefore he argues with the Bach for the same, pretty much the same reason as the Chalkas Mechoykek. And the question is now, where does this leave us? And this is something that we're not going to be able to get into today, but we need to know how to paskin. We need to know how to paskin. Imagine a case comes before you of an Eid Echad saying there was Kiddushin, and you should know this comes up. Rav Moshe and others, Achiezer, found there's at least 2 children in Chaim Ozer, there is Someach, and a number of others. Interesting stories, these sorts of stories of usually rowdy, unruly, I'm not saying they're all teenagers, but though Samech has a case of that somebody, the Shamash did was Masada Kiddushin. There's a takona in many kahillas, it seems, he mentions, and you can understand why, that only that It says, the Gemara says, "Kol mishein baki b'tiv gittin v'kiddushin lo yeh lo esek imoim." Anybody who isn't expert in gittin and kiddushin shouldn't get involved because of the possibility of things that can go wrong. So there was a case that when Shiloh came to the Eretz Sameach, it's in the Tshuvas of Eretz Sameach. Don't see it very much. I have it at home. I'm not sure if they have it here. It's a thin sefer. Eretz Sameach was the Tshuvas of a case where, for some reason, the Rav said he wasn't going to do the Kiddushin, so they paid the Shamash, the Gabba, a bit of money, and he'd watched the Rav, and he thought, I've watched him do it many times, I know it. And it turned out a massive mess, because most of the Eidim he appointed were Krovim, which is the next sugi we're going to look into, and he's scrambling to find out maybe there was an Eid Echad, and there's a whole long paragraph on, because it seems there was one Eid Echad, and then whether you go with the Ramah, not go with the Ramah. Remember, it's not so simple. You might say, well, what's the big deal? The big deal is that if we're Choshesh L'Kiddushin, and then he has to give her a get misofik, is she allowed L'Kahuna? What about Chalitza? That was the case. One of the cases of that Chiezer is, they did a Kiddushin, and the guy had some stomach aches or something under the chuppah. They had to wait for a bit, and then afterwards he went straight to hospital and died within the Sheva Brachas.
Wow.
So what one part of the Shaila was, it seems he had an existing illness which he had neglected to mention to his bride-to-be. It's a question of Mekach Tos, and that's massive when you talk about Kiddushin, not so poshut at all. But part of it was that the Kiddushin Eid Echad. And then, so now it's a Shaila of Chalitza. This was the Shaila, I think this was Reb Chaim Moses' Shaila. Now it's a Shaila, if you're saying Choshesh Kiddushin, there was a brother who lived the other end of the world, and in those days, forget it. That means this woman would remain an Aguna Kol Yomeho. That was the Shaila. Because the Chosn died, had a brother. So if you're saying the Ramah, you're Chayesh for Kiddushin, then, now, okay, it says, Shalei b'mokim igun. It's true. The Ramah says only b'mokim igun. Is this what Reb Chaim Moses deals with, and a lot of it hinged on this Eid Echad thing. So we hope it never comes to it, but it's definitely possible to be Negela Maisa. We are going to stop for today. Tomorrow, we are going to look at a Pischei Tshuva with a Chasam Sofer and a Noda B'Yehuda, and then we're going to learn a beautiful Kitzos. Unfortunately, Thursday, I have Vad Hagiyur. Oh, actually, I think it may only start at 11 or 11:30, in which case I have enough time to get to Joachim Starstrasse after the Shir. So I'm going to try not to